Welcome to our third of this year's collaborations with Riot Games for Latin America. If you want to catch these guides in Spanish, then be sure to check out their channel here. Vision control in League of Legends isn't the hottest topic that gets players excited, but it's certainly one of the most powerful ways to win the game for you and your team. The beauty of mastering it is that your vision success is largely in your control, regardless of your teammates. It also helps everyone on your team at all times, not just yourself. The better your vision, the less likely your allies are to get picked off. Not only does it reduce the likelihood of your team handing over kills, but it enables them to more consistently net their own kills and secure objectives. While these perks may sound obvious now that we're highlighting it, they are massively important. You should always remember that learning vision control is going to help you improve significantly, more so than mastering the most efficient Z combo or whatever else. Vision is something players immediately associate with supports, and while it's true that they will have more agency when it comes to placing and denying vision, anyone can apply the concepts that we'll be going over here in just a second. Okay, all that being said, you should be sold that mastering vision will rock your world. So let's dive into today's guide, where we're going to teach you the most important concepts for mastering vision in League of Legends. Then at the end, we'll be sharing our favorite warding tips and tricks that most players don't know exist. Let's get started. The most important battle between two teams should be around deep vision. If you watch LoL esports, then you've definitely heard this term tossed around constantly. Analysts are always going on and on about who has deep vision, how well they're controlling it, how they are or aren't playing around it, etc. It's by far one of the most discussed topics in any competitive game. Simply put, deep vision is exactly what you know or think it is. It's just having wards deeper on the enemy's side of the map, rather than in the river or your own side of the jungle. The benefits are massive, so let's cover why teams do it first, and then give you some guidelines to help you establish it yourself in your own games. Honestly, the biggest upside is really simple. You get to see everything your opponent does earlier than otherwise. How many times have you been ganked playing aggressively, even though you had a ward and spotted the enemy jungler? Any vision is good, but shallow vision doesn't give you that much time to react to things. Even if you see a play coming, you could be in too deep to respond anyway at that point. Deep vision, on the other hand, would give you plenty of time to not only finish your aggressive trade, but back off before being ganked. One of the biggest wastes we see in regards to deep vision is in objective control. Over the years, players are generally getting smarter and smarter and know to show up to objectives before they spawn to establish vision control. Oftentimes, though, players in solo queue just lounge around and only get vision on the actual objective itself, rather than invading for more control. This lack of threat makes it incredibly easy for the enemy team to walk into them, which usually just ends up being a coin flip fight. Ideally, what you want to do is arrive at the objective quite a bit before it spawns. Then see if you can move into the enemy's jungle and place some deep wards. The advantages you gain from doing this are massive. For starters, you can see exactly how the enemy team is collapsing to the objective. Are they all together? Is their approach disjointed? All these questions are answered faster for you, and you can potentially take advantage of any flaws the enemy team may have in their approach to the fight. Not only that, but for skill shot champions in particular, establishing deep vision before an objective spawns is one of the most brutal things that you can do to your opponents. They have to walk into you, and they're walking in blind. It makes landing your spells so much easier. Look how impossible it is for the enemy team to even think about trying to fight over the Baron here. Walking into Morgana, Ashe, and Lux from Fog of War is just devastating. And one of the best advantages of fighting over deep vision when it comes to objectives is the fact that you're denying vision from the objective itself. Let's show you what we mean. The Kha'Zix this game is heading toward the dragon, since his team is sitting on Soul Point. Therefore, a fight is sure to erupt around it, considering how important an objective that is. Getting there early, Kha'Zix moves in, leading his team into the enemy's jungle to get some forward control before the dragon spawns. As they approach, he fights to keep them away from the dragon itself, since he doesn't want them to have any vision on it whatsoever. The confrontation continues until a tragedy happens. Senna gets hooked while Zed blinks onto some traps. Both carries messing up like this is usually awful, but thanks to his prior work, Kha'Zix still salvages the situation. He knows that the enemy team never got a ward on the dragon itself, so he leaps over and begins sneaking it while his entire team collapses. Before they realize what's going on, Ka has nearly soloed the dragon and can easily secure the smite with his Q, getting the soul and proceeding to skitter away. Looking back, yes, the enemy team could have potentially seen Kha'Zix sleep over and start the buff. But in a chaotic situation, it can be hard to deduce exactly what's going on and react appropriately. Had they had an actual ward on the objective, they would have reacted instantly to the sneak, and salvaging the situation would not have been possible. So it's good to know how great deep vision can be in helping you achieve your goals, but there's probably a problem that you're already thinking about when it comes to applying it in your own game. Most of us aren't playing in either challenge or elo or a competitive team, which means your teammates are definitely not going to help you establish that vision. While it's true that lower elo brackets care less and less about vision, it doesn't mean that you'll never receive help, whether it's intentional or not. Take this game as an example. Leona was rotating toward bottom to help her team in a small skirmish. She doesn't get there in time, but makes use of the fact that the Kha'Zix was also in the area at that time. It's not that Kha'Zix was purposefully here to help Leona establish deep vision. He just happened to be in the area, and Leona makes use of that to ensure her own safety as she places some wards in the enemy jungle. While you should be looking to use the random times your teammates happen to be in an area, that is definitely not the most consistent approach that you'll be taking to getting deep vision. The more reliable way is to actually scout out the map and find windows of opportunity where you know you'll be safe, regardless of being alone. As an example, Morgana was going for a very safe ward over the Dragon Pit since she had no idea where the enemy jungler was. But when the Sejuani is spotted ganking top lane, Morgana immediately shifts gears and invades completely alone. This is how you'll be looking to establish deep vision in solo queue. Your opponents will eventually show themselves on the map, and when you know where everyone is, you can use those opportunities to invade their jungle and place some wards. Her efforts bear fruit a minute later, when she and her team are chasing the enemy Tristana for a kill. The vision gives Cassiopeia the confidence to flash forward, knowing that Tristana is completely alone and that there's no one behind her in the jungle. Maybe she does that anyway, sure, but this way her safety is guaranteed rather than being a massive question mark and a risk. There's another method you'll want to employ, which we'll be referring to as leapfrog warding. The idea is pretty simple. When your team has a set of wards already placed on the map, you can use those wards to move forward a bit further and place slightly deeper vision. Then you repeat the process until you have the vision you ideally want. It's not completely without risk, but leapfrog warding is relatively safe, since you'll only be moving past your own team's vision line a little bit each time you do it. Let's look at an actual example from a challenger game. At the start of the clip, Rel is fighting over some vision control around Baron since it will be spawning in about a minute or so. But then she notices her team likely isn't going to be playing for Baron. Nidalee is bot side and Tristana is moving to split push the bottom lane. Thus, the vision she'll want to place should be to enable her Tristana to push bot safely. With two wards already placed in the enemy jungle from before, Rel and Kalista feel relatively safe walking a bit further toward the brush near the Raptor camp. Kalista knows that the dangerous part is over and leaves to push mid. Rel proceeds to use her vision to move a bit further in and place a ward here. At this point, Rel knows from the minimap that 3 enemies are ganking her Kennen in top. Even though her team isn't super nearby, since she's playing so close to her own vision, it makes her feel safe enough to jump into that last brush and place another ward deeper into enemy territory. That was super simple and not fancy at all, and it's not meant to be. Leapfrogging your vision should always feel safe, as you're not walking that far away from the area that you already controlled anyway. And don't think that this is only something supports can do with a pocket full of wards. Looking back at the start, Rel was mostly playing off her team's already established vision. She then placed one control ward, a singular regular ward, and then another control ward at the end. That's an amount of vision anyone can carry in their bags. Alright, with the core fundamentals of deep vision covered, let's go over some more general tips that you can immediately implement in solo queue that will really amp up your vision game. First up is the cheesy control ward that you always find in your own jungle. These are incredibly useful and something that you want to be placing nearly every single game. There are 2 main reasons why. 1, they can spot a lot of enemy rotations, as these are high traffic areas that players are constantly pathing around. And 2, players tend to be quite lazy when it comes to checking for them. Even though they are a bit cheesy, these wards are incredibly valued by high elo players. During this challenger game, we even see 2 at the same time placed on the enemy's blue side jungle, granting a ton of information about what's going on in that area. During that same game, we see the enemy Nautilus just walking right on by one of the brushes that had a control ward in it. That's why they're so good. It's not that he doesn't know about these wards, every challenger player does, but it can be very easy to be on autopilot and forget to check these brushes every single time that you walk past them. Moving on, when it comes to deep vision, you very often want to set it up and stay in the area playing around it and defending those wards, but that's not always going to be possible. Oftentimes, you're going to be placing your vision and immediately backing off. What can be frustrating is having your wards immediately cleared after you leave, and you're left wondering what the point even was in trying to get that vision. This is a tip that you're not always going to use, but you should, depending on how well the enemy team is coordinating their anti-warding efforts. These are some very common defensive ward placements the enemy team will utilize to deny your deep vision. Knowing these yourself is obviously useful as well when you're the one playing on the defensive. As a counter to these wards, you should potentially look to place these less efficient but sneakier wards instead. They won't grant you the same value in terms of how much vision they give, but it's better to have some vision rather than none. Oftentimes, with a full set of control wards, your opponents may feel safe in their own jungle thinking their rotations are unspotted, when in reality, you know exactly what's going on thanks to these sneaky wards. As our final tip, we'll just show you some warding tricks that you should definitely try to learn so you can always obtain the best vision possible. Some of these, especially this first one, are a bit difficult to consistently pull off, so you will need to practice them in the training tool when you get the chance. Of course, you don't have to learn all of these. In fact, most players don't know them all. That being said, you should certainly care for the ones that are specific to your own lane at the very least. Not only those, but these Baron and Dragon Ward tricks are crucial if you want the highest chance of securing those objectives. There are times you simply can't walk into the enemy jungle for vision, and knowing how to place these in those situations can potentially be game winning. When it comes to warding, remember that following guidelines is important, and you'll never go wrong placing the wards that a guide has encouraged you to place. That being said, you should practice your vision control each game and begin to tailor which wards will help you the most based on the specific circumstances you encounter in each game. Ideal vision changes based on who is winning, what the team comps are, and a ton of other factors. By the way, you should know where these videos come from. Our hyper improvement platform, SkillCapped, is by far the best place to be if you want to actually improve at League of Legends. You can input your rank before signing up to see where we think you'll climb to. If you don't reach that rank while actively using SkillCapped, you can claim a full refund. That's like a gym membership guaranteeing that you'll get ripped. We offer this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't, then you shouldn't pay for it. So be sure to check us out after this. Alright, that's going to wrap up this guide. We hope that you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.